again, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Sports Scene here on WLCS TV. I'm Tim Alcorn with WEOL Radio. And of course, each and every week on the program, we like to talk about events that are happening either in the Lorain City School System or the city of Lorain as far as sports is concerned. Well, certainly, my guest this week is someone who has not only done the city of Lorain very proud, but the entire Lorain County area. He's Jim Lawhead, the head basketball coach at Lorain Catholic High School, and just a short while ago, Jim became the first coach in our area to achieve a very lofty status as he reached 500 career wins with a win over Open Doors. So it's a pleasure to have Jim back on the program. We'll talk about his illustrious career at Lorain Catholic High School and talk about what lies ahead for the Lorain Catholic Spartans. As you folks at home watch this program, they're getting ready for tournament time and certainly have an outstanding opportunity to advance pretty far down that tournament trail. So again, a pleasure to have you on the program, and Jim, we welcome you.
Tim, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here again.
I mentioned at the outset, 500 career wins. When you got started a long time ago, was that a figure that was even remotely in your mind?
I couldn't imagine that. You know, I think when I first started, I was worrying about just that first game. You know? Plus, I was scared to death. It was the first coaching experience at 24 when I was at Lorain St. Mary, and we were going into the November practice, and we were going to play Brookside on the road that first game. So I think our entire focus was on game one.
Talk about why it's been able to happen, some of the things that have gone into it. Obviously, number one, your love of coaching. Some great players along the way certainly add into it, but what made it possible?
Well, I think you mentioned two very important aspects of it. When I got into it in 1962, as I said, at St. Mary's, I got out of the service. My wife and I came back to Lorain, and this opportunity presented itself as a teaching opportunity. Coach Simonovich, who had been at St. Mary's, went to Amherst, and the job was open, and I was fortunate enough to get it. And it just was something that I got into so much and loved so much, and I just felt that I've just got to stay at it. So what it boils down to is the love of the game, the love of teaching, the love of kids, and it was great for our family. The commitment to education, longevity, and great players certainly a part of it.
Did you ever think you would coach as long as you did? When you started out at 24, did you imagine that into your mid to late 50s you'd still be on the sideline?
No, I don't think that I ever thought about how long it would be until probably when I got into my 40s, and I was starting to think when the boys are done playing, when the family's done playing, maybe it would be time, but it's just never been time.
It seems as though the last couple of years when we've done interviews on WEOL, you've questioned whether or not you want to make another run at it, do another season, and yet once you get into the heat of the battle, it sort of reignites the fires.
There's no question. I think it's the stress of the season, the pressure of the season, which is self-imposed, and the ups and the downs, and you get discouraged, saying, well, maybe this is going to be the time to do it. But then after the season, after spring break, you get a rest, you get rejuvenated, you look at it differently.
Do you remember each milestone win? Obviously, I'm sure you remember the first one, but do you remember the big ones after that, 100, 200, 300, right on down the line?
I remember the games, the opponent. I couldn't tell you the dates or the scores. Obviously, game one was an overtime win at Brookside. Coach Bob Talatnik, who was one of my first mentors, really, because I had called Coach Talatnik, and he helped me an awful lot in that early year. Win 100 against the Rocky River at Lorain Catholic, and I remember the Booster Club and my wife, they had this cake, and they were thinking, well, should we get it out of the freezer and then get it out? They put it back because we get behind. Win 200 was on the road against Columbia. Win 300 was at home against Brookside. And, of course, 400, how can we forget that, at the Coliseum at Lorain Catholic.
Now, there's an interesting sidelight to win number 400. We're going to let the folks at home watch this for a minute or two. But the game was on the radio. I was with another station at that time. But myself and Bob Junta, former Elyria Catholic coach, did the ball game. And you came up for the post-game show. Now, this was in 1991, you were telling me.
Right, 1991.
And we're going to let the folks at home watch this. I made an interesting observation to you during our post-game show about perhaps a win number 500. So we'll let the folks at home view that for just a couple of seconds right now.
Fine.
Jimmy told me you're going to have a special suit for number 400. Looks like a basic blue suit with a white shirt.
I like it. It's a nice tie.
It is a nice tie, though.
I know you didn't pick it out. I know you didn't pick it out.
Jim, congratulations. Our heartiest congratulations.
Jim's wife's waving to us over there. She wants. All right.
And if you average,
thanks a lot,
Jim. If you average 15 a year, 1998 will be here for number 500.
Hey, we'll be here.
Jim Lawhead.
Jim, congratulations to you, buddy. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate
number 400 tonight.
I was only off by a year, Jim.
Well, you know, you had the average down pretty well, but we did have a stretch of 4 seasons in there where we averaged about 20 wins a season. Fortunately, during that period, we had some good basketball teams, won some games, lost some games, and it came a little earlier than you predicted.
Yeah, but I wasn't too far off.
No, you weren't far off.
How about 600 in 2001, 2002?
I don't know that I don't know that I'll be able to whistle by then, and that's a long way off.
I want to talk a little bit about this year's team. It's been a very exciting campaign for the Spartans. Talk a little bit about the success that you've experienced with this year's squad.
You know, this year's team is a very unique and special team to us. You know, like many are, and but this is now. And first I'd say this, that our coaching staff that we put together this year, and Bart Hobart, who's been with me, but Alan Januzzi, a former player, came aboard, and Jason Lawhead, my son, came aboard, and we still have our JV freshman coach, Mark Mihal, Ray Mariner, and junior high, Tom Osicki. But the ones that work with us every day, I think we put together a practice plan and a conditioning plan and approach to the practices that I think has benefited us greatly, first of all. And they all bring to the table different attributes. But the team itself, we went through some hard times. This was a team that last year we put this team together. We weren't very good, and we weren't very good for about 12 games. And I recall going to Gundurina and playing on Benedictine and making 8 field goals in the game. Of course, they were an outstanding team. But we just stayed together, and we got through last year with 10 wins. And then this year, they've just come on so much. We've developed a role-playing situation and a team concept and a rotation off the bench that I think is really, really helped this basketball team.
As I mentioned at the outset, as the folks at home are watching this program, you're getting ready for tournament time or in the midst of tournament week. Jim, how far do you feel this team can advance? What's its potential?
I honestly believe if we can play up to our potential, if we can play like maybe some of the top games we played this year, we're going to have to play very well. We're not, and we know it, we're not a great team, but I believe we're every bit as solid in the starting lineup and off the bench as anyone in our sectional district. Beyond that, I really don't know. I don't know what's out there beyond that, and we'll take a look at that later. But I like this team's chances. I feel confident with this team, but it's like anything else. You've got to produce on the court.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about some of the players on this year's squad. If you could go through some of the guys that have really played key roles and also been leaders for you out there on the floor.
Well, we have a lot of key players, and that play key roles. Jimmy Francis, I'll start with him because he's the point guard, and I think a lot of times the game starts with the point guard. You have to have a good, solid point guard, a smart point guard. Jimmy Francis started as a sophomore in the tournament at point guard because our point guard was hurt, and we just threw him in there and did a great job, and he's been our point guard for the past 2 years. He plays 32 minutes when he has to. He handles the ball. He can shoot the 3. So he has a great heart and a passion for the game, as I think all of our players do. Our shooting guard is Jason Brown, 6-footer who's very strong, takes it to the basket well in transitions and can shoot the 3. But Jason is probably been our most consistent player all year. I think 2 games he's had 8 points and 6 points, and the other 17. It's almost like every night he gets 14 or 16. You can write it in.
Right.
Our 3-man is Juan Cespedes. Juan, I think, is what I would call the glue that holds it together on the court. Last weekend, he had 8 assists from the wing, from the 3 spot, 8 assists in both games, 16 assists 2 nights. He gets them because he throws the ball inside. He makes entry passes to Corey Rose and Sean Smith, and he gets the ball there. He shoots once a game, twice a game. That's all he shoots. But he doesn't turn it over. He takes it out against the press. You know, he guards the best offensive player, and, you know, he's just invaluable to our team. Inside, Sean Smith, Corey Rose complement each other. They play high-low. Sean's the defensive rebounder, the offensive rebounder. He plays tough defense. He blocks shots. He's been blocking since the Avon game when he had about 7 or 8 blocks. He's been averaging 4 or 5 blocks a game. You take it in, and Sean's gonna intimidate you in there. Corey Rose is more of the offensive player, and he's stepped it up in the last 5 or 6 games, averaging over 20 points a game, shooting 54%, shooting 75% at the foul line. Had a big game the other night, 34 against Cleveland Central, in a big game for us. So they complemented each other in that regard. Matt Gonzalez and Sean Callahan are our 2 guys off the bench. One's the perimeter player, the other's the inside player. They know they're going to get their minutes. They know their job is to go in and produce for a period of time, because the other guys are going back in there, and they've been invaluable just to contribute and to play their role. And I'd just like to mention our other 3 fellows. I mean, it takes 10. You know, the other 3 don't play a whole lot, but in practice, you know, they're invaluable. Jason, of course, plays with them, but in our practice plan. But Justin Mach, senior, Andy Brazina, junior, and Mike Essera, junior, are the other fellows on our team.
And they certainly, as you say, don't get a lot of playing time game night, but what they do on the practice floor certainly can't be underestimated. They add a lot to your basketball program.
They definitely do.
When you mentioned last year that this club struggled early on and then sort of picked up steam as the year went along, when you came into this year, Jim, were you anticipating or expecting the kind of success that you've had?
I really didn't know. If you would have asked me prior to the season, Coach, what do you think? And I probably would have been cautiously optimistic, or maybe even pessimistic, because you know we coaches, we're not going to go out on a limb and say, oh yeah, we're going to go out and win 15 games. You know, you're not going to do that. You know, so I really didn't know. I saw progress in the second half of the season, and yet I also saw us in the tournament game against Cuyahoga Heights. I felt come apart a little bit. I couldn't get them back. We lost our poise. We didn't play real well. We got affected by the officiating in the game, and you know, and I felt that the key to it was we're going to have to grow up in terms of mental toughness, grow up in terms of poise and confidence, because we had the players, we had the talent to be a pretty good basketball team, and they've done that, and that's the key, I think, in our team.
You mentioned Bart Hobart and Chris Kelly and Alan Januzzi. How much has your style of coaching changed, and how much now are you more willing to delegate than perhaps when you were 24 years old and just got started?
Well, the first 25 years, I would say probably I did it alone, and no one could get in my way, and I was on the court, and that's the way it was. I would say about 8 or 10 years ago, Michael Horn, an ex-player of mine, now the head coach at Firelands, came aboard as my first full-time assistant, and about 8 years ago, I think. And then Michael went on to Firelands, and Chris Kelly came aboard, and then Matt Lawhead came aboard, and then Bart Hobart came back from Wellington. So I about 10 years ago decided I needed help because I couldn't do it alone anymore. I didn't have the energy. I still had the passion for the game. I didn't have the energy to run a 2-hour practice alone anymore. And I thought that we needed to diversify in terms of our style. If you'd go back earlier, you'd say, well, how did the Lorain Catholic or St. Mary's play? They would say they were fast break basketball, and and that was it. We played okay defense. You know, I just felt we needed to get better defensively. We needed to do some of the finer things better, and I needed help to do all that.
Has the game changed that much, though, Jim? I mean, are you still coaching the same kind of game that you did when you started? Obviously, some rule changes, the three-point shot and so forth, but has the game itself changed that much?
I don't think the game has changed that much. I think coaching's a lot better. As I look out as the teams were playing. I used to be the young coach looking at the older coaches. Now I'm the older coach looking at the younger coaches. There's a lot of great young coaches out there that put an awful lot of time in. There's team camps, there's clinics, which we had then, but we didn't have the leagues and the summer that we have now. That's changed, but I don't know that the game's changed. You play zone or man, you press, you beat the press. You hope you hit it. Well, you hope you hit a three once in a while. But you run it's a matter of execution. I don't know that it's so much changed, or the kids changed. That the kids love to play basketball. Those are the ones that are out there.
You don't think the kids have changed that much from what they were maybe 20, 25 years ago?
In terms of playing basketball, I don't know that they've changed that much. I think that there were some great players then. There's some great players now. I think socially things have changed, which makes an impact on how we deal with kids. There's more things for them to do. There's more distractions. There's more temptations and things of that nature that we have to deal with. We have to really school our kids on, those kinds of things. Actually, I honestly don't think so. I really don't. Our first team at St. Mary's, I think teams have got better because coaching's got better. We had a great team my first year. We were 18-4, but we shot about 36% from the floor. Today you can't win shooting 36% from the floor. This year we're shooting 44%, and that's okay. But we've shot better than that. I mean, good teams shoot 48, 50% from the floor now.
Basketball's become more of a specialized sport. Would you agree with that? In other words, you used to have the three-letter, four-letter kind of athlete. Now it seems as though kids will specialize with one sport. It almost becomes a year-long thing.
Well, in our school, that's not so much the case. I think
of a smaller school.
Because we're so small that, not that it hasn't been the case in the past off and on, but not so much now. I mean, we have, our players are playing either soccer, baseball, or football, or in the case of, let's say, Jimmy Francis, he was playing soccer and golf in the fall, and Sean Smith was playing football and soccer in the fall.
Right.
And
Juan played football.
Juan played football. Corey Rose didn't play a fall sport, so he was working at the game. We had a couple. Sean Callahan played football this year.
Right.
So in the smaller school, where there's fewer athletes, we certainly have to be, certainly have to be sharing. I think in the bigger school, there may definitely be more specialization.
Jim, when you look at yourself and the Mitch Gillums and the Bob Walshes and that core group of coaches in Lorain County that have been around a long, long time, do you see young coaches coming up that you think will coach that long? Or as you say, has the stress of the game and the stress of winning taken its toll so that you don't think coaches will go maybe 30, 35 years like they used to?
I think that one thing is that I started as a head coach at age 24.
That's young.
Right, it's the very first year, So as in terms of a head coach, I don't know that there's going to be many that's going to be coaching 35 or 40 years as a head coach, because you might not get your head job until you're 28 or 30 now. But when I talk to coaches, and when coaches talk to me, of course they can say, well, I'm never going to be able to do it that long, and I'm not good at predictions, but you never say never. There's going to be somebody that's going to love the game and going to say, hey, I'm going to coach forever. You read in the paper where guys are still coaching at the age of 70. I don't know. I think you have to ask them, but I think it'll happen. Maybe not as much.
I mentioned earlier that it seems as though at the end of every year, towards the end of every year, you question yourself, but I don't know. Is this a year where you're going to do that again, or do you feel that the fires are still burning a little bit? Well,
I don't want to make a commitment one way or another. I have to. I have to take one day at a time, and I've said publicly, and I'll say it again. I've said to my family that after the season is over, Barbara and I will go to the Dominican Republic and do the beach scene and for about 10 days and just read and relax and get away from the telephone, and that seems to always give me that renewal, and personally I would expect the same thing to happen.
I would imagine with a season that's been enjoyable as this one has, that makes the decision a little bit easier as well. I mean, if you were really struggling and you looked down and you didn't see a lot of talent coming back or whatever the case may be, I don't know, that's a guess on my part.
I really want to respectfully disagree from this standpoint. That someone in school the other day said that, well, Coach Lawhead, he's thinking about really retiring this year because maybe there's not a lot of talent coming up. But our JVs were 500-ish, and my answer to that was all you have to do is look at the record. And the record shows that Coach Lawhead stayed through 4-18 and 3-17 and 4 straight losing seasons in the middle to late 80s. And it has never been a question to me as to whether I'm going to stay or not stay relative to what the prospects look, what it looks like. As a matter of fact, I would say that the challenge is there if that is the case. How can we do? People are saying we're not going to have anything back. Well, I want that challenge because I love these kids, and we'll see what we can do with that. So that's my approach to it.
Is it the 2 hours of game night that you still get the biggest charge out of. Is that something that perhaps you don't look forward to that 2-hour practice Monday through Thursday, but you really get fired up about Friday night?
Well, I look forward to the 2 hours of practice now because I got these 4 guys.
Because you get to read.
Yeah, I do stats, and I walk out, and they say, "Oh, well, coach is here. How you doing?" My job is to whistle at the end of practice and to collect the jerseys and give them this little pep talk. So I look forward to it now. You'd have to ask the people around me about the game. I still feel, looking at myself, I just feel that I still get as intense and as focused for the game, for that challenge of the game as I ever had, and I still love to coach on the sidelines, and that is still there for sure.
Well, I was telling you a couple of weeks ago, the game that we had on WEOL, Wellington Clearview, I believe, right up the street from your place, got over early. So I zipped down Washington Avenue and caught the final quarter of EC and LC. And, I mean, that was what high school basketball was all about. Great rivalry, packed house. And you looked just as intense on the sidelines that night for the fourth quarter, at least what I saw, than you probably did 25, 30 years ago.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate you coming over, as a matter of fact. And, but Lorain Catholic brings more out of me than anything, and the other team, too. And I'm sure out of them. It's been a great rivalry, dating back to when I, again, coached at St. Mary's, and when Coach Gento was there, especially significant because of our relationship. And the juices still flow, that's for sure.
Jim, in reading your comments the morning after the 500th win, were in the paper. I got back a few days later, but you talked about your family and what it's meant to have your family involved in this whole coaching process. And I'd just like you to echo those about Barb and your sons and your daughters. And basketball truly is a family affair at Lorain Catholic High School.
Well, it is. Barbara's been obviously a very loyal supporter and has loved the game. And coaches today, I think they have to have a wife that that enjoys the game and participates in the game. And we have the kids over for dinners, and she does things like that, and that makes it so much easier when you have that kind of a relationship. And she's done those things. We kidded. I think she missed one game that we lost because she was mad at me, and she missed two wins because she was in the hospital giving birth or waiting to give birth. So she didn't get her 500th win until two games later. But the kids, the 3 boys of the 4 played. Michael didn't, but a great fan. As a matter of fact, we were kidding yesterday. He sent me a congratulatory card. He's the only one that sent me a congratulatory. The other 3 players, they just took it for granted. Dad won another game. But Jimmy played point guard for us. Matthew played 2 guard for us. Now a head coach. Jason played 2 guard for us, and 3 girls all played volleyball and basketball at Lorain Catholic. So it wasn't just a boy thing. It wasn't just a guy thing. The girls played. And it's been so important, I think, just the attitude, the aspect of hanging around the gym, being around athletes, being around coaches, being around other people, principals, because they've got this, being around you guys, the media, and it's just helped them so much, I think, to grow as independent thinking people, confident, aggressive, that kind of a thing. They all went to Lorain Catholic, so Dad took them to school every day. And so they knew Dad was there, and I knew they were there. And we didn't get in each other's way. We gave each other our space. But I think that educational process was so good for our family that, they still, come back. They're going to come back for this dinner in a few days, and they still say, "Hey, where are you going on vacation? Can we go?" I mean, and they're in their 30s. They still want to be a part of it. It's been great for us.
Jim, I just want to tell you again, congratulations on an outstanding achievement and on your season so far. We wish you the best of luck in the tournament. And for me personally, it's been a real pleasure for me to be able to work with you and get to know you over the past 9-10 years. And I hope you're around in 2002 or 2003 as we shoot for 600. But again, a real pleasure and many thanks. Do appreciate
I'm not going to say I'll be there this time. Who knows? And it's been a pleasure, really, having you cover us. Thank you.
All righty, Jim. And again, to wrap up the program here on Sports Scene, what we're going to do is roll some tape and let you folks at home take a look at some of the comments and some of the ceremonies that took place after Jim Lawhead achieved win number 500 against Open Door. So again, we thank you for tuning in to Sports Scene. Stick around for some of the highlights after the game when Jim got career win number 500. We congratulate him on that, and we'll see you again next week on the program. So long, everybody.
We've got gold confetti coming down as for head coach Jim Lawhead.
And the entire student body comes filing out of the stands.
Right on the floor, almost like a state championship victory. His 500th career coaching win. He's being mobbed by his son Jason, gives him a hug, and camera crew's out here. Good to see.
Well, you're afraid he's going to get hurt in the crush.
I know, right? You got to be careful, people. And they're not too wild. They're pretty much under control. Channel 5 is here. They're shooting it.
Patriot coach comes over.
Get a word. And we can keep it here for now. They'll try and clear the floor and give the presentation to Jim.
Quite a celebration.
Yeah, it is.
Our brothers are the third estate with cameras, and then the TV people are here, so.
That's the way it ought to be.
If you missed it, it was on at 11 o'clock. It might be on tomorrow morning on the early shows.
Yes.
And it was really nice that we could be a part of it here at WEOL, because we don't often have a milestone like this. I think the last time was what, when Bob Walsh hit 400 along with Jim.
That's right. He waves to his wife in the crowd, and
she's right behind us.
Yes, his wife, Mrs. Lawhead, told me that when he got his 400th win, our Tim Alcorn mentioned during that broadcast that Jim, we'll see you in 1998 for your 500th. He was figuring out the wins, and Mrs. Lawhead wanted me to mention to Tim that, remind Tim that he left us a year short on that he should have had us in 97. So sure enough, they did get it in 97. But the important thing is that he got it, and Tim knew he was going to get it, and he stuck around long enough, and it's something that most coaches never see, obviously, at any level, 500 wins. And now we will get the presentation from athletic administrator Jim Francis and the pastor here, Father Leo Deschamps. And they play the fight song and the banner. Congratulations, Coach Lawhead, as the students have it strung out on your 500th victory. And the girls happy.
Cheerleaders are out doing their thing.
Yep. For the camera crew, as our friends from Channel 5 do their stand-up, and now we'll hear from Jim Francis and Father Leo Deschamps.
Trying to push the student body back at this point in time. And as you might imagine, everyone here in a very happy mood.
Son Jason with a few tears. And a little grandbaby on the floor.
Now Jim surrounded with his wife, daughter, and grandchild.
And his oldest son. Now Jim Lawhead will have a few words for everyone here. Holding the basketball in his hand that Father Leo gave him.
Thank you very much. Tonight is a celebration of family, really, and it starts over there, the student body and the cheerleaders. That has been so supportive all these years. This is about Lorain Catholic, it's about Lorain St. Mary's, it's about people. That's what it's all about. And it extends over there to our visitors that I would like to thank for coming, and all the competition and all the coaches that we've played against all these years. You know, and I really appreciate that. Without that competition, you know, we wouldn't be here. So that's about people. And all about you adult fans, it's about family. It's about pride. It's about respect. Certainly tonight a little glory too, which is nice too. But I'll tell you where it's also at, these guys over here that have coached
with us this year, but they represent all the coaches that have coached at St. Mary's and here all those years, and we couldn't have done it without them. I just want you to know how happy I am that all of you came to share this, because it is a sharing thing. It is our family. All of those that I said, I love you all dearly. Thank you very much, and I appreciate it.
63-32, and a Lorain County basketball milestone reached tonight as Coach Jim Lawhead records win number 500, and he just cut down the last strand on the net, and that one will be saved for posterity here at Lorain Catholic High School as history is made tonight at the corner of Tower and Falbo in Lorain. WLCS TV 61, Lorain City Schools.